She came every morning, until one day his silence noticed her loneliness. Hello everyone. Welcome back to The Secret Street. Today, we're exploring a story that quietly unfolds in the corner of a small cafe, a place where routine turns into connection, and two lonely souls discover something beautiful in the ordinary. This is the story of She Came to His Café Every Morning, until he realized she was lonely too. It all begins with a quiet cafe tucked between the bustling streets of the city. From the outside, it looked like any other coffee shop. Simple brick walls, a faded wooden sign, and windows that allowed the morning sun to pour in, bathing the room in golden light. Every day people passed by without noticing it, but for her, this place became a part of her world. She came every morning, always at the same time, ordered the same coffee, and sat by the same window seat. The barista behind the counter, a young man who had recently taken over his father's cafe, noticed her routine from day one. She would sit quietly, sip her drink, and stare outside as if searching for something she'd lost long ago. The interior of the cafe was warm and welcoming. The smell of roasted beans, the soft hum of jazz music, and the sound of the espresso machine filling the silence between conversations. Wooden tables, a few books on a shelf, and a hand-drawn chalkboard menu gave the place a homely charm. It wasn't fancy, but it was full of heart, and perhaps that's why she kept coming back. Not for the coffee alone, but for the calmness it offered in a world that moved too fast. At first, he didn't pay much attention beyond the usual customer courtesy, but as the days turned into weeks, he began to notice the little things. The way she smiled politely but never truly met anyone's eyes, the way she held her cup as if trying to absorb warmth, and how sometimes she lingered long after finishing her drink, lost in thought. She wasn't just visiting, she was escaping something. He started making her coffee just the way she liked, a little extra milk, 2 spoons of sugar, and a light dusting of cinnamon. She never asked for it, but he learned through observation. Each morning, he would prepare it in advance, and when she arrived, it would already be waiting at her usual table. One morning, she looked up, surprised. Their eyes met for the first time, just a glance, but it said everything that words couldn't. It was a moment of quiet understanding between two people who didn't need to speak to feel seen. Her visits became the highlight of his mornings. He'd wake early, clean the counters, set the chairs, and wait for the doorbell to ring. Sometimes she'd bring a book. Other times she'd just sit there, watching the rain trace lines down the glass. The cafe was small, but in her presence it felt alive. And in his gentle gestures, the freshly brewed cup, the quiet smile, she began to sense that she wasn't invisible anymore. One day she didn't show up. The first morning he thought maybe she was busy. The second day he waited longer, but her chair remained empty. On the third, he felt something strange, an ache he hadn't realized was there until she was gone. The cafe felt quieter, the music duller. Even the coffee didn't taste the same. He realized then that her presence had become part of the rhythm of his days. Without her, the cafe wasn't just missing a customer. It was missing its heart. A week passed before she finally returned. She looked tired, her eyes red as if she'd been crying. When she sat down, he didn't ask questions. He just placed her coffee in front of her with a soft smile. She looked at the cup for a long time before whispering a small, "Thank you." That moment changed everything. Slowly, conversations began. Small talk at first, then stories, laughter, memories. He learned she was a writer who had lost her inspiration after a heartbreak. She came to the cafe because it was the only place where her mind felt calm enough to think. He, too, had his share of loneliness. Running the cafe alone after his father's passing had left a quiet emptiness in him. The cafe was his way of staying connected to something his father loved. And in her, he found a reflection of himself. Someone trying to heal through small rituals, trying to make sense of a world that had taken too much. Over time, their bond grew not from grand gestures, but from consistency, the kind of connection built slowly, one morning at a time. He started leaving little notes on her saucer, quotes, gentle reminders, or sometimes just a doodle. She began writing short stories inspired by the people she saw in the cafe. The world outside kept moving fast, but in that little corner, time stood still. Performance-wise, this story isn't about speed or drama. It's about subtle emotions, the quiet performance of two souls rediscovering what it means to feel alive. The chemistry between them was never forced. It was natural, like two melodies finally finding harmony. Their connection didn't need words. Every shared silence, every exchanged smile, carried more meaning than entire conversations. In terms of safety, their hearts were fragile. Both had been broken before. But in the safety of the cafe's warm walls, they found space to be vulnerable again. The cafe became their sanctuary, shielding them from the noise of the outside world. It wasn't about protecting themselves from hurt anymore. It was about learning to trust again, one coffee cup at a time. The unique selling point of this story lies in its simplicity. It doesn't rely on glamour, wealth, or dramatic twists. It's about human connection, how kindness, routine, and understanding can slowly mend what's broken. It's about finding comfort in the ordinary and realizing that sometimes love doesn't arrive with fireworks. It shows up quietly, sits by the window and stays. If this were a cafe in real life, its price wouldn't be measured in dollars, but in moments. The cost of a cup of coffee that carries emotion, warmth, and shared silence. But if we had to put it in perspective, this cafe symbolizes something priceless. The peace that comes when you stop running and simply be with someone who understands you. In the end, she didn't stop coming to the cafe, and he never stopped waiting for her. What started as a habit became a bond, a connection that didn't need to be defined. Some mornings they talked, other mornings they just sat quietly, sipping coffee as sunlight spilled across the table. And in those unspoken moments, they both realized something profound. That loneliness fades, not when someone fills the silence, but when someone sits beside you in it. Their story is a reminder that sometimes love doesn't announce itself. It grows slowly in the quiet corners of everyday life, in a small cafe, in a cup of coffee, in a simple act of kindness. She came every morning because she was lonely, and he realized in time that he was too. But together, they discovered that loneliness shared becomes companionship, and that even the simplest routines can bloom into something extraordinary. And as the days went on, that little cafe became more than a place. It became a story of healing, connection, and rediscovery. A story that teaches us that sometimes all it takes to change your life is one cup of coffee and someone who notices you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, stay tuned for more tales from the secret street where ordinary places hide extraordinary connections. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to Secret Straight so you never miss our next emotional and inspiring story. Don't forget to press the bell icon to get instant notifications of our latest uploads. See you in the next video. Until then, stay true, stay real, and keep watching Secret Straight.